So, welcome to the Refreshing Views Observatory. Today we are chatting with Tim Duke from Dew Control. So, in addition to talking about how dew forms and what we do about it, we're also going to talk about Tim's imaging setup, about his acquisitions and his plans for the future. And make sure you stay to the end because there is also a discount code if you want to buy any Dew Control products. So welcome Tim to Refreshing Views. I hope you're well.
Thanks, Mark. Yes, yeah.
Lovely.
Thanks.
So we met, didn't we? We were camping next to each other only a few weeks ago at Kenning Heath, which was at times it felt like it was being in a swimming pool, wasn't it?
Very much so. I mean, I was safe. I was nicely in my warm caravan. You were in a tent, I believe, and so you were suffering more than I was.
Yeah, because we had some clear nights, didn't we? So it was clear.
Yes.
Most nights, wasn't it? And I was there Thursday to Monday.
Yeah.
And I think we observed two or three of those 4 nights. My goodness, the dew, wasn't it? It was absolutely horrific.
It was fantastic.
Yes. So if you were a dew salesman,
brilliant, yes.
So I rushed around to buy from you a dew heater. So do you want to just introduce yourself and say what you do?
Yeah, of course. Yes, so my name is Tim Duke. I am an electronics engineer from Cambridge. I've been in the electronics industry for about 30 years now. And I have a long life interest in astronomy as well. Dew Control is the company that I run. So it came about in around 2014. I was just starting astrophotography at the time, and I was up at Kenning Heath for the autumn event, and we had some very clear nights during that autumn, and I was struggling with dew, pulling out the 12-volt hairdryer, like a lot of other people do at Kenning. You'll hear them sort of going off at all sorts of hours at night.
It did sound like a hairdressing salon, didn't it, at times?
Yes, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, 3 o'clock in the morning you hear sort of hairdryers going off everywhere across the fields. I was getting frustrated with that, and it's not good when you're doing astrophotography using a hairdryer, because it's a very reactionary method of dew control. You know, you tend to only use it after you've dewed up. It's not a proactive method of keeping the dew off. So I decided at that point I'm going to make myself a dew controller, because a lot of them that were on the market, the Kendricks and such like, were quite pricey. So I thought I can do better. And that's where it came about. So I started by building myself a couple of dew controllers for my own scopes. I thought, well, why not? I could start building these and sell them to other astronomers at sensible prices. Because I knew what was contained in them. There isn't a lot, and they were very, very expensive at the time. So I thought, well, let's just start by building a few. And it took off and started selling quite a few, and it just expanded from there. So and that's where we are here today. Still building them,
wonderful.
Still selling them.
So
Yeah.
do you make them? How far down the sort of chain do you go? Are you sewing up Velcro, or do you order stuff in and then assemble them yourself?
So the controllers themselves, the electronics, is all hand built by myself. They're surface mount components. So the PCBs come from China, the blank PCBs, and they're hand built by myself here in the UK, and that includes casing them and the wiring, etc., etc. As far as the heater elements are concerned, or the straps that you'd wrap around the front of the telescope or around your eyepiece, they are built by a good friend of mine who lives not less than 15 minutes away from me in Newmarket, and she does all the sewing, so they're built in the UK as well.
And that was Barbara, if I remember rightly?
That's Barbara, yes. Correct, yes. Yeah, so she tends to attend to Kennings and all the other big events as well, so yeah.
So I've really enjoyed using your products. So I had my little 80mm refractor that I borrowed off a friend, and didn't have a dew heater, so luckily I could pop straight round and buy it. And one of the other chaps was us, and he had one of those big 100mm, those sort of battleship binoculars.
Oh yes, yeah.
Now of course he now needs 4 dew heaters, one for each
objective.
Of course,
2 for the eyepieces, 2 for the elements. Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah.
So he was, but without it, I mean, you would have had a wasted night, wouldn't you? Because within an hour or two, that humidity rolled in off the sea.
Absolutely, it was crazy how dewy it was. Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think back to sort of schoolboy sort of science, isn't it? So the air temperature's dropping, so it can't hold as much humidity.
That's right. So it's all about the dew point. And the dew point is basically when the air can no longer contain the moisture. So you're at 100% humidity. So it's the temperature that you have to drop down to get to the relative humidity of 100%. And at that point, the gaseous state of the water vapor turns into liquid itself, and that's when the dew forms. So when you have a surface or an object that's out in the elements and the surface cools down lower than the dew point, that's when the dew forms on the surface. And you'll find that glass and colder objects like metal tend to form the dew quicker than other objects.
It makes sense, doesn't it? Every time we go out to our cars in the morning at this time of year,
absolutely,
the car's frozen solid and the grass is fine, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah. So frost is just when the dew point is below the freezing point. So that's when you get a frost. So the water droplets just freeze as soon as they form. So that's when you get a frost.
Yeah. And it's not helped, of course. And again, I'm thinking back to you've got these metal surfaces, as you say, they're radiating away to whatever it is up in space minus a lot.
Exactly. Yes, very much so.
And so you did it. And I can remember years ago with work, we went out with work to White Sands Missile Range out in New Mexico.
Very nice.
And I took my binoculars, and we didn't have to worry about dew because it was the middle of a desert and it had no humidity. Then you think back to Kelling, of course, being a mile from the sea, and you could taste the sea, couldn't you? You could taste.
Well, absolutely, yeah. We'd had quite a lot of rain, for a few days before that, so that it's very, very wet in the air. So it was not good for astronomers, but great for me selling dew control equipment. So the Saturday started, and it was crazy from the point that I opened the stand up until I had to close. I'd sold out basically. I'd sold out everything that I took with me.
Wow! So
and I took orders as well to bring back with me to.
Yes, since Dave with the binoculars, you had to post them to him, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I mean, I had stock at home. I just didn't. Past Kellings have never been that bad.
Was that because it was clear? Was that because it was clear? Is it because it was clear?
It's not just that it was clear, it's because of the dew point as well. It was just exceptionally damp. Gotcha. So, previous Kellings I haven't sold as much.
Right.
And didn't take as much stock.
So if I'm a new beginner, then I'm just getting into astronomy and I've got my telescope or my camera on a mount or whatever it is. Yeah. What do I buy from you then? What is a dew protection? What is it that you physically sell?
Okay, so we supply basically a proactive measurement of stopping the dew from forming in the first place. So I talked earlier about sort of 12-volt hair dryers. That is an option. Like I say, you tend to use them basically after the dew has sort of covered your optics, and you're looking through the eyepiece, and you're saying to yourself, why is it getting a bit cloudy? And you look up, it's not cloudy, okay, and then you check the front objective of your refractor or whatever, and find it's completely dewed over. That's when you bring out the 12-volt hair dryer, you give it a blast, it warms up the optics, evaporates away the condensation, and then you carry on observing probably for another half an hour, and then it starts forming again, and you're just going to keep doing that in a cycle. We supply products that allow you to just put a small amount of heat into the main objective or into the mirror of the telescope, and it just warms it up just to keep the surface of the glass above the dew point temperature, and that stops the dew from forming in the first place. So you can plug the dew heater in for your eyepiece, or we have ones for telrads, we have ones for Rigel finders, you'll have one for your guide scope if you're if you're imaging, or your finder scope, etc. So we can supply straps of all different sizes to plug into any telescope, and then just switch them on at the start of the observing session. Just leave them ticking over, and just puts a small amount of heat into each glass surface, and just keeps the dew from forming in the first place. So it gives you a nice viewing experience.
You've only got to be a few degrees above the dew point.
Yeah,
you're
only
not
one
trying to
degree
cook
above.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you control it so you can have, just 1 degree above dew point, then absolutely perfect. To save wasting power. But I mean, the straps that we use, they are low power straps anyway. You can run them directly off 12 volts. I find that puts a bit too much heat into the object. So what we also supply is a controller. Acts like a dimmer switch, but allows you to vary the power for each of the straps that you're plugging in. So you might have I don't know, say you've got a refractor with a main objective lens, you've got an eyepiece, you might have a finder scope or a tail rad. You might want 3 heater straps for that. We do controllers that have 1 channel output, 2 channel outputs, and 4 channel outputs. And that allows you to vary the temperature in each of the straps individually, and allows you to vary between 0 and 100% power. So it acts just like a dimmer switch for an old school lamp.
Okay.
So you can reduce the temperature and just leave it ticking over.
So on my setup then, I literally have that Velcro strap wrapped round the dew shield, or where the objective lens is hidden underneath the dew shield.
Yes.
Another one round the eyepiece, one on the finder scope. And as you say, I tend to leave mine about 2/3, 3/4.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I tend to do is turn mine, leave it on full for about 5 or 10 minutes just to get the straps up to temperature, and then I'll knock it back. On most nights, I'll leave it about 40%.
Oh, okay.
40 to 50%. Only on the very heavy, dewy nights, you might want to turn it up a bit.
Yeah, okay.
So that Kelling Friday night, you might have wanted it turned up, 80% to 100%.
So while we're talking about what settings to have the dew heaters on, all I could think about was this movie clip.
Numbers all go to 11. Look, right across the board. 11, 11,
and most of
11,
the amps go up to 10.
Exactly.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's 1 louder, isn't it? It's not 10.
No, it certainly made such a difference. I say, if we didn't have those dew heaters and those dew straps, we'd have packed up after an hour or two. It would have been a wasted experience. So for not a lot of money, it means you can carry on observing indefinitely, doesn't it?
Well, that's it. I mean, they are relatively cheap compared to the price of a telescope that you're spending, and the eyepieces, in the grand scheme of things, preventative system to allow you to carry on observing for the night without having to do anything, is cheap.
Yeah, and I remember also thinking back to my engineering course was the latent heat of vaporization, because of course once your dew is formed, it's 1,000 times more energy, isn't it?
You've got to put more heat in to that's right.
Evaporate it off is actually way more than just trying to keep that little bit of metal and glass clear.
Exactly.
Isn't it? Yeah. And as you say, if it freezes, then you really are stuck. You might as well just pack it.
We have had spring kellings. I remember a spring kelling when I was in a tent at the time, and we did wake up to hard ice, and things were freezing over that night. Yeah, so it would have been useful to have heater straps then.
Oh, so you could put them in your hands, couldn't you, and underneath your hat, and that could keep you warm as well.
I wasn't thinking about that, but yes. You can actually get heated gloves, mittens. I know a lot of motorcyclists use them in the winter, so it is possible to get them, even with the sort of 12, a D-cell sort of battery clip built in. So just to give you a bit of temperature in the fingers and the toes.
Take the chill off. So if you had you've just described one with Kelling when it was frozen whole. What have you lost out on observing sessions?
Many. And even since running dew control, I'm embarrassed to say, I was at a club observing meet at Hallwood Farm out in Suffolk 3 or 4 years ago actually, and I'd taken my telescope, I'd taken everything I remembered apart from my dew control system. So of course I turned up, and it was a very dewy night. And I suffered, but so I kept quiet about that. I was not going to make that known until now, of course.
We'll edit that bit out, Tim, don't you?
Yeah, okay, thank you. But yeah, so I had to stop my observing session because I didn't have a hairdryer that night, and it stopped play. But now on the whole, I'm running the same straps that I have been for a number of years now, and they're still going strong. No problem with them at all. So
they're not moving parts, are there? So it's not going to wear out.
No. Once they're fixed, they're taped on, and I haven't changed my setup, so it's the same old setup. And it's absolutely fantastic. So,
you obviously need a power supply, though, don't you? So the beauty of
you do. So they do run off 12 volts, and depending on what size strap you have, the current draw will change depending on the size. So the longer the strap, the more current it will draw. But yeah, it's not that hefty. When even up to a 16-inch telescope, you're only going to be drawing 2 amps through the main mirror strap when it's running at full chat. So a lot of the time you won't need to do that. So it's about the same as a typical Skywatcher mount would draw when it's slewing. So it's absolutely fine. And for a small refractor, you're talking quarter to a half an amp of current draw when it's at 100%. So yeah, it's low power.
So it's a reasonable leisure battery, one of those little power
Absolutely.
packs. So you mentioned there, so we've been talking about eyepieces and refractors and camera lenses, but you mentioned primary mirrors there. Do you sell the products to go over the secondaries and the primaries?
Secondaries, not so much. Secondaries tend to change in size and dimensions so much that you can't fulfill every eventuality. I am currently developing a series of secondary heaters, which are designed for the larger Dobsonian style telescopes. Rear surface heaters. When they've got them, you sometimes get the rolled metal tubes that the secondary sits in, and then on the back of that you could put a heating pad. So I'm sort of developing the heating pads for those at the moment.
But these are the ones that sounds like several inches in diameter.
Yeah, so you're sort of 3, 4, 5 inch secondary mirrors, not necessarily for the smaller ones. We can. I mean, you can get away with running a short sort of 11 centimetre or a 15 centimetre standard strap. You can wrap that round a stalk of a secondary on a Skywatcher, typical Skywatcher. A lot of people do that. But I mean, there's so many varieties out there and different methods that the secondary is stuck on with that you can't sort of cater for everything. So it's a difficult one for the smaller scopes.
So you sell them for people who are making their own big telescopes or bought those big ones with that set design, but not for the infinite variety of different.
No, that's right.
differences.
Yeah, exactly. So.
But what about the primaries then? You mentioned primaries there as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it depends on the telescope again. So a lot of scopes have enough space between the tube and the secondary mirror that you can actually fit a strap in between. If there isn't enough room, then it is possible just to put it on the outside of the tube and allow the heat just to penetrate through the tube and hopefully keep the dew from forming on the mirror. But it really depends on the scope.
So how long have you been up and trading for?
Since 2015. It was the end of 2015, start of 2016. So it's really when I met Barbara. We met basically at Kelling one year. I bought a couple of her straps off Amazon, and she happened to be trading at the Kelling, Autumn Kelling. And I thought, this could be good fun. I could start marketing my own stuff here and have a stall. And I got talking to her, found she lived in Newmarket, which is only 15 minutes up the road from me here. We got talking and then sort of decided, well, let's team up. You do the straps, I do the controllers and the electronics. Let's team up. And we sort of done every other show since then, Astrofest and the IAS and the PAS at Kettering. We've done pretty much all the shows together ever since.
Brilliant. I was going to say, because you said earlier you've got your own setup. Do you travel around for the star parties as well as the trade shows?
Kelling mainly.
Because it's so close for you.
Yes. I haven't done Kilda. I haven't done any of the other shows further up north, like the Northwest show. It's really, being in Cambridge, I tend to concentrate on the shows around this area. So Birmingham, London, and the Kettering show. So
that makes sense. We went to Kilda. Well, we've got family who live up in Northumberland, so I used to drive up with wife and children. To kick them out. Kick them out with my mother outlaw. And then I'd pick up my father-in-law, and more importantly, he had a caravan. So we would then drive to Kilda.
Yeah.
But they built the Kilda campsite 6 inches below the water table.
Yes, I've seen photos. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, if you think because of course it being the massive, was it the biggest freshwater reservoir in the country?
It's right. Yeah. Exactly.
And when it is dark, oh my goodness, is it dark? But it's so wet.
Yes. Yeah, I've seen some photos, and I think last year was pretty much washed out, wasn't it? Was it last year? I think. Well, no, previous year. I think.
Like I say, we haven't been for so long with all these COVID restrictions. It's nice to be back on again, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. So no, I've never been, but probably we'll get to one day.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. So next question for you then. Have you got any plans for future products, or is it, are you sitting where you are? What are the plans for the future for you?
Nothing. I've got an empty bench behind me at the minute. I do have this design.
Oh, wow.
I'll give you a quick flash of that. So it's just a basic. So my products tend to focus on the lower cost end of the market. I'm not into keeping up with the big boys. Yeah, and I don't think I want to be ever. So for those that don't want to spend £300 or £400 on a full-blown observatory hub, I've got one in development here, which is just basic. So it's manually controlled to be able to control the dew outlets, but it also has a power hub built in and also a USB hub. So yes, that's under development still. Has been for a couple of years now, so I'll get it. So there's that. I've also got the secondary heaters that I was talking about earlier. So they're pretty much going to the factory now. So I'll have some of those very soon on the website.
Oh, excellent. So can we just jump back to that power hub then? So
yeah, of course.
So thinking out aloud then, if I've got my telescope and I've got guide cameras, dew heaters, USB signals going back and forth, and this is a one box fits all sort of thing?
It is, yeah. So it basically allows you to have one power lead and one USB lead running up to your telescope. So you'd have that affixed to the telescope somewhere. And all the leads will run off. So if you're an astro imager, then you'll have a power lead running off to your telescope. You'll have a power lead running off to your CCD camera, maybe one off to the filter wheel if you need it, and then also the USB cables feeding to those objects as well. And it just has a tidier installation. It means you can sort of run the cables locally around the telescope, and then just have two wires trailing off for your USB and your power. So that's the objective behind it.
So you don't have that mass of spaghetti going around as the telescope slews across the sky, worrying about it wrapping and catching.
And dragging 20 cables with it. Yeah, that's right.
And that's the problem, isn't it? Of course, if it pulls out or damages, not only do you use an imaging run, if you damage the cables, you've got to go and get replacements.
Yes, exactly. So I haven't done that yet, touch wood, but I was very close to it.
So do you image as well as observe?
I tend to only image it at the moment.
You're one of those astronomers, are you?
Yes, sorry. I was bitten by the bug probably about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And, in fact, no, it's longer than that. Crikey, I'm losing my days and my years. So no, it must be longer than that.
Did it feel like last week, did it?
Yeah, before the CCD revolution took place, and I was still playing with Ektachrome and hypered film and stuff like that. That's showing my age now.
Because I've always thought CCD imaging, digital imaging, looks hard work, with the setup and the capture and the processing afterwards. And then I hear people imaging with film, and I think, oh my goodness, that really was hard work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is where you'd be bent over a reticle eyepiece, and you'll be staring into it for an hour. Just to get one exposure. And I'm just so glad CCD and CMOS has come about now, because I'm never going to go back to that. But that's where I started back in the day.
So what is your setup? What have you got?
So my current setup consists of a Borg 77 f6.6.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, it's a very nice scope, very sharp, and have that on a Skywatch NEQ6 Pro.
So it's not undermounted then, you're saying?
Correct, it's not undermounted. Got guide scope piggybacked onto that. It's a very nice setup. In fact, the setup's changing as of today.
Oh, wow.
Went to see Simon at widescreen and picked up a few more bits. I've got an email today to notify me that my ASI Air Plus is turning up next week.
Oh, wow.
So it meant a change of camera. I was an Attic person before, so that's being sold, and I'm now moving over to the ASI camera.
Oh, so what camera have you got now?
So I have the ASI 294mm, so monochrome camera, so very nice.
So hence the filter wheel to
We'll see.
swap the different
And I've got a
filters.
filter wheel to go with it. Of course, I had to get rid of the attic filter wheel, which is set here. So yes, my attic filter wheel's got to go, and it's going to be replaced by an ASI filter wheel. So yeah. So we shall see next week.
So are you keeping that
how it goes.
as a sort of backups, or are you just going to sell them
No,
on?
that's got to go. I've got to use that to fund.
I see.
Usually. So, but yeah, we shall see. So I'm hoping for some clear skies next week.
'Cause it's been cloudy for ages now, hasn't it? We seem to have had 2 or 3
Oh
weeks.
yes, hasn't it just? Yeah. I mean, it cleared a bit last night and looked out again. It was totally cloudy. It's just frustrating. But
Well, as you say, we live on a rock in the middle of the North Atlantic, you know.
yeah, you can't expect any more than that, can you?
Yeah. I spoke to there's some Canadian astronomers who run a podcast called the Actual Astronomy podcast. They were saying that during the summer, it's up in the high 30s. You know, it's a hot, dry, environment. Then you get the forest fires, the mosquitoes, the black flies, and you get about 3 or 4 weeks towards the end of the summer when it's quite pleasant. And then, of course, it goes to minus 30. And so I said, maybe we don't get it too bad in England.
Yeah. But they probably have a lot of aurora, which I'm sure. Yes. I was speaking to an astronomer in Norway, actually. So my other hobby is amateur radio.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I was speaking to a chap up in Norway who was also an astronomer, and I asked him how the aurora was affecting his propagation on his radio signals. He says, it does frustrate him because the HF signals just die a death when they have aurora. So it just kills that hobby. And I said, well, for astronomy then, you must love having aurora. You must be out there all the time looking at it. He says, no, it's just second nature to them. They just get fed up with it.
Oh, really?
Just gets in the way, just like a full moon for us astronomers, I guess.
I suppose so, yes. If you want to be out there observing or imaging, having this bright light in the sky is no use to you.
Yeah. So
it's nice if you're on holiday, isn't it? But because whenever there's an aurora alert in the UK or in England, we're all rushing outside to the nearest hilltops.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. We got one the other day, didn't we? So was it 2 weeks ago?
Did you see it? I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
Yeah, I didn't see anything. No, all I saw was a glow on the horizon. Oh goodness, I don't know if you can hear that, but Alexa has piped up. I think she heard me say something, but anyway.
Have you ordered something off Amazon now, have you?
I probably have, yeah, accidentally. Yeah, so no, I didn't see anything. I saw a glow on the distant horizon. We've got a fairly good north round to south horizon where I am here, backs out to fields. But our sort of west, we have Cambridge to the west or northwest. And a few other large villages, so it does affect us. But to the north, we have quite a dark horizon here. But yeah, couldn't see a lot.
Yeah,
but, it's a shame.
Fingers crossed. Well, so it's your fault it's cloudy then for the next week or so.
Yeah, you could say that. Just locally here at Cambridge. Are you booked in for April then as well?
Yeah, bear with me. So we've booked in for next April.
Yeah.
For the Spring Star Party, and then again for the autumn 2022. So fingers crossed we get some good clear skies.
Are you on the same pitch for both, or
I can't remember. They move us round, but in that same general area. But in that same pitch. But you're planning to go back next year as well?
Yeah, because of COVID, the spring one was refunded, and I stupidly forgot to rebook it. So I'm hoping my pitch is still available. But April, autumn is booked already. So I managed to get it.
So I thoroughly enjoy it, just as a long weekend. Just to.
I mean, I think it was after. It was basically when I was loading up the car for this last autumn kelling, and filling up the car with stock and tables and tablecloth and the gazebo tent, and it was taking up all the room. And then you get to finishing putting up all Claire's makeup bags and all the other rubbish that she has to take with her.
We'll let it out, Tim.
There was no room left for much in the way of telescope stuff, and I vowed to myself then that next year I'm not going to take any stock with me. I'm not going to have a stand. I'm just going to do astronomy.
Oh, really?
And of course, then I had that really successful Saturday, and completely sold out. And I think, well, actually, am I doing the right thing?
So do you resent it?
I don't know.
Then? Do you resent having your
No,
business, your
not at all.
sideline?
Because I love Dew Control, but then I love astronomy, but don't have enough time for it. And I think that's where the ASI Air Plus thing came about. Really, creating a setup that's going to allow me just to sort of plonk the scope on the tripod, get it aligned. And I don't know if you've seen the ASI Air Plus and what it can do.
I've seen it in the catalogues and the magazines, but not in person.
Mate. Certainly the ASI Air Plus, which is the latest one, it's pretty much all self-contained. So it's like having I don't know. I mean, I've got a box down here, a dry box, which is what I've been using in the past, which has got a small Intel NUC computer, and everything is sort of run off that to the scope, and then I remote desktop into that with a laptop, control everything from there. But when you got PhD to control your guiding, and that's a separate app to your Artemis, your Attic Artemis software for running your camera, and everything sort of sort of separates, and
So
sometimes
system of systems, they call it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. So the ASI Air Plus is just a self-contained thing that does everything and it guides you straight through it. So even the polar alignment, it does plate solving. So once you've polar aligned, and the polar align is automated as well, so it tells you how far off you are. You tweak it, and it keeps sort of taking images and doing plate solving and works out exactly how far off pole you are. And once it's happy, it lets you can carry on. The focusing's all built in. It's automatic focusing, if you've got an automatic focuser, of course, and it'll dial that in for you. And then the guiding, you can do multi-star guiding. And then for finding the object, you just got a database of all the objects. Tap the object you want, it will slew off to there. Plate solve it, check it's aligned, and then you can create sort of schedules of images. So you can create a script in effect. So I want to take that number of lights of that duration, and then after you've done that, or every 3 I want you to dither, or after you've done that batch, I want you to refocus.
Yeah, and of
it's
course you're swapping filters.
self-contained.
You're swapping filters.
Yeah, and it swaps filters, and it'll then refocus, and it's all automated. So in effect, if you can guarantee the weather, you should be able to sort of set it going, and then just walk away and forget about it until the next day.
Well, as you say, if time is precious for you, then it sounds absolutely perfect.
Absolutely.
Doesn't it?
And so having that out in the garden while I'm in here, and just with a tablet or my phone, just to be able to monitor it, just see what it's doing, make sure it's okay, and I can just sort of crack on and doing other stuff, and carry on doing.
So do you have a permanent setup, or you?
No, I don't, unfortunately. I have thoughts about it. Well, I was thinking about building one until the price of timber started shooting up.
Crikey.
So we've got a couple of raised beds in the garden, and one is falling to bits. So it was a case of, well, either do I repair it, or do I just remove it completely and put something in its place? And the something in its place was going to be a small, sort of a very small, not something you can get inside, but a small roll-off roof observatory just for the scope.
Literally just for the telescope.
Yeah,
Oh,
just for
wow.
the scope. So just either the lift-up lid or a roll-off lid. I don't know. We'll see.
I got my credit card out and paid for this to be built a few years ago, and it's been worth every penny.
Oh yeah.
But just the sheer convenience of having a
absolutely.
permanent setup. That, on a night when the moon's a bit misty and hazy and it's not a good night, and there are times before I said, I'm just not bothering. I just can't.
Well, and that's the issue that I've got a lot of the time, is that do I really want to set up? Is it going to be clear long enough for me to actually set up, and then ferrying everything out into the garden, setting it up, and so having an easier setup will be a good thing for a start. So we'll see how things progress, but hopefully an observatory eventually.
So the other thing I found that was really good was just having everything on the trolley.
Okay, yeah.
So I literally got 2 big, 2x4 planks, put them together as a T, tripod on it, ratchet strapped down.
Oh, fantastic.
And then I put a piece of wood over that, and that had the battery, extension cable, and for me it was charts and table and all that sort of thing. But I could literally wheel that out, and be out observing in 5 minutes. So it was the other way around. So I used to live in the garage, and I could just walk it outside on the patio and be, apart from plugging it in. So that's another. I think anything that aids the simplicity.
Yes, very much so. Yeah,
because it's not just the setting up. It's of course at 2 or 3 in the morning when you're tired and
of course,
your fingers are cold. I've got to pack it all up. Whereas now I just put the dew covers on, the dust shields, roll the roof back,
and just walk in. Yeah, go in the house and you can sort it out tomorrow. Yeah,
I leave all my star charts out. I just put the dust covers on the eyepiece. And I'm done.
That's it. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's have your evening back again, and thank you so much once again for all your time. It's been lovely to chat.
Yeah, no worries, Mark. It's been great. Yeah, that's fine, mate. Yeah, no problem at all. But don't forget the code.
You've very kindly given the literally dozens of people who will watch this video a special offer then.
So anyone wants to buy anything, if you go to www.viewcontrol.com, that's where the web shop is, and I'm offering a 10% discount code. If you just use refreshing views, all one word, as you check out, gives you an option to type in a voucher code. If you type refreshing views into there, you can get 10% off anything on the website up until midnight of New Year's Eve this coming year. So
as someone who enjoys using your dew heaters to keep the refractor nice and dry, I can vouch for how good they are. So 10% discount is very generous. So thank you. Oh God's sake! Now I've got everything ready, but now I've scrolled through my emails. It's now not near the top of the bloody. Anyone would think this is an amateurish organisation.
Nah, that's all right. If the internet craps out of this end, just let me know. Yeah.
Well, how will I let you know?
You have a point. You got a very good point.
Oh, for goodness sake!